Hi everyone, I'm thrilled to announce the foundation of the UTXO Alliance today and to be with the technical architects of the founding members, Manil Sakhavati for Cardano blockchain, Alex Chapman from Ergo, Ren Zhang from Nervos, and James Ayman from Topple. To detail and give you insights on what is this new alliance about. So as an introduction, the UTXO Alliance, as its name indicates, regroups researchers, experts and developers who are building blockchain technologies based on the UTXO model. So the UTXO model was first introduced by Bitcoin blockchain network, and later on the account model was introduced by Ethereum. And modern blockchain rely on one or the other, or some even combine those two models. But here we have two models that have very different properties and offer a different set of trade-off, different pros and cons. Determinism, predictability, and scalability being the principal benefits of the UTXO model, while the count model facilitates the development of use cases that are relying on a global state. So in an industry that is very confrontational, the UTXO Alliance will foster innovation and enforce more collaboration between blockchain ecosystems. The UTXO Alliance is committed to solving instrumental questions around how data is transferred between blockchain environments, the amount of data used, the speed with which data is processed, the transaction cost, the energy usage, etc. So we will focus on making it easier to transact across different blockchains, and this will encourage greater use of the technology, we hope. The UTXO Alliance is a kickstart today and will enforce collaboration between blockchain ecosystem and more generally between any other organization or individuals who are committed to make the UTXO model more scalable, secure, and interoperable. So I would like for each founding member to present themselves, their role, the blockchain ecosystem they are representing today. So let's start with you, Manuel.
Hello, everybody. My name is Manil Sakhavati, and my background is in programming languages and compilers and distributed systems. I've been leading the research and design of the Bluetooth smart contract system for the Cardano blockchain. And Cardano is focused on sustainability with its proof of stake system, scalability, and on-chain governance.
Great, thank you. Alex from Ergo, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your project?
Hello, my pleasure to be on the panel. I think this exciting day when we are forming the UTXO Alliance finally. So I'm Alexander Chapman, co-developer of the Ergo platform, and the mainnet for Ergo was launched on July 1st, 2019, and yeah, we are having contracts in the extended UTXO model since day one of the mainnet. And we have, to the moment, a lot of experience, but still a lot of research needed, and that's why we are in the Alliance.
So Ren, tell us a bit about you and your project, Nervos.
Okay, thank you. This is Ren Zhao. I'm a researcher from Nervos. I started working for Nervos late 2018 and received my PhD on consensus protocols in 2019. With the approval of Professor Agelos Kiayas, as he was in my defense committee. Therefore, I always think that Nervos and Cardano are academically related. Nervos is a proof-of-work blockchain launched in late 2019, and the mining power has grown 1,000 times since then. Nervos has the ambition of providing the blockchain technology to all Internet users. To achieve this goal, we present protocols and tools that allow users to operate smart contracts from their favorite wallets and access their tokens with many address formats, including Ethereum, Tron, EOS, and even their email addresses. The developers can program their smart contracts with their favorite programming languages, and we support all layer 2 scaling solutions for better performance. That's all.
Very interesting. Thank you. James from Topol blockchain.
Thank you, Romain. So I guess first off, I'd like to just thank you for inviting us to the Alliance. And then, so a little bit about myself. My name is James Ayman, and I'm the CTO and co-founder of Topol. So my formal training is actually in ultra-cold atomic physics. I finished my PhD program at the end of 2019 and joined Topol full-time at that point. And so Topol is a startup based in Houston, Texas, co-founded by 3 Rice alum we're at Topol, we're building an application-specific blockchain focused on helping organizations prove and monetize their ethical and sustainable business practices to enable purpose-driven companies to be profitable and sustainable. In keeping with our mission, we are a proof-of-stake UTXO-based Layer 1 blockchain project that has been built upon the ScoreX framework, first developed by Alexander and IOHK. We align really closely with the technical decision makings of Cardano, and so I'm really excited that for such a small company like ourselves, we're able to benefit from the really rigorous and robust research performed by groups like Ergo and Nervos and IOHK. So yeah, like I said, I'm very excited to be here.
So there's a question I would like to ask now is what's your opinion of how does this UTXO Alliance initiative can help the blockchain community and the broader blockchain ecosystems? Manuel, what do you think?
Yeah, if we look at the UTXO ledger model, then you could say it's been the first original one because it has been introduced by Bitcoin. But then if we look at modern chains with their support for smart contracts, they're very much biased by following, often just copying the design decisions which have been made by Ethereum. And as a result, in the space of blockchains with support for smart contracts, the UTXO system is underrepresented. And I think this is a shame because Bitcoin has shown that this is a very solid, trustworthy model of accounting. It has many nice mathematical properties, which in this domain where safety and security is paramount is really important. So I think this alliance really has the opportunity to demonstrate to the broader crypto community that there are multiple chains, multiple designs, technical designs who've come to the conclusion this is actually the more interesting model. And I think together we can make this point.
Very interesting. Ren, what do you think this alliance can bring to the ecosystem?
Thanks. I think our alliance will contribute to the community in 3 aspects. First, as Manuel just said, we can advocate the advantages of the UTXO model. From my perspective, it is obvious that the UTXO model is more scalable and more secure than the account model. But this is far from a consensus in the community because people generally believed that the account model is more similar to their bank account. That's easier to understand. It is impossible to form a consensus with the effort of a single project. Therefore, it's important that we work together. Second, we can establish bridges for our blockchains to interoperate. Third, we can solve challenges that come along with our partners and do exciting research together. Moreover, to implement these research results and co-evolving. That's all.
Thank you. James, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, so I would very much agree with what Manuel and Ren have already said. The idea of interoperability and the like being able to individually address a piece of state on the blockchain, and define constraints under how that piece of state can be used or consumed, is really just it's a very underrepresented or underappreciated point of the UTXO system. And I agree with Ren. It seems obvious that the Bitcoin system and UTXOs are just they have their drawbacks, and namely, the one transaction per block thing. But I think there are ways you can get around that, and I hope I get a chance to mention it later about some work we've done in that regime. But for UTXO specifically, I would say, Ethereum's had this huge problem with not only scalability, but also MEV is a huge issue for them now. Right, UTXOs completely eliminate that sort of idea, because you can't jump in front of someone.
Right. Alex, you want to tell us?
The UTXO model is with us since day one of Bitcoin existence, but still it's undervalued. But we already know a lot of things in regards with comparison with the account model. So in the first place, the UTXO model is good for privacy because the UTXOs are immutable one-time objects, and it's simply better and more suitable for formal reasoning about privacy. Right, so in the accounts model, it's hard or nearly impossible to formalize privacy leak, unlike UTXOs. So non-privacy cryptocurrencies are all in the UTXO model, as far as I know. Popular ones at least. Then the UTXO model is better for scalability. So I had some joint papers on stateless clients, for example, and I know that for UTXO cryptocurrencies, stateless client solutions are much simpler than for account-based cryptocurrencies. So just hash-based data structures are enough. No complex cryptography with non-standard assumptions and so on. And this is much better. Also, with UTXOs, it's much simpler to parallelize transactions verification, and as we are going to have more and more cores in our computers, then with time it's also providing some natural scalability boost for public blockchains. Right, and also the UTXO model is better for off-chain and cross-chain applications because, when you have immutable object, which is an UTXO, it's more convenient to reason about its state. So usually off-chain solutions for the UTXO model are much simpler. And all those things are quite exciting, and future is mostly about UTXO cryptocurrencies, I believe.
So, in my opinion, this alliance will be very helpful in actually creating synergies between ecosystems, and I consider that there will not be one blockchain to rule them all. I think we'll have a networks of blockchains. If you take an analogy, if you look at how internet was built from intranets and then interconnecting intranets with extranets and interconnecting extranets to finally have internet, I think we are going to go through this evolution from the private permission blockchain to the public blockchain, and then to a network of public blockchains, basically. And for that, we need to define and enforce standards, because you can't interoperate without protocols and interoperability protocols and open standards. So I really wish that this alliance can bring those standards on the UTXO model and define protocols to transfer, to help users move from one network to another transparently without effortless, basically. So creating this alliance, we are thinking about three first work streams. So the first one is interoperability. So the ability to actually exchange assets across two different blockchains and help users move from one network to another and otherwise. Manuel, what do you think about the interoperability topic, and what are you working on that is in this field?
Yes, I totally agree, Romain, that there's not going to be one chain to rule them all, but we will have multiple blockchains, and it's important that they don't become independent islands in this sea of finance. But in order to get to a new global financial infrastructure, these systems need to be connected. We need DeFi infrastructure across multiple chains. And in the Cardano project and research at IHK, we've been focusing on topics such as sidechains and interchain operability mechanisms like NIPA powers right from the beginning. It's always been a focus of the project and part of the vision to be able to interoperate. And I think we'll see a lot of that. Now, after the Gauguin launch, there are technologies like the ERC20 converter, which already connects us with Ethereum, which is of course interesting, but we are working also on further sidechain mechanisms and cross-chain communication mechanisms. And the interesting question is, of course, how can we not just achieve communication through a centralized medium, but how can we transport cryptographic proof from one chain to the other, such that we can really have a decentralized interchain operating medium. And we have several research projects going in this direction. And of course, to solve this problem, we have to work together because we have to connect our different systems.
Very interesting, thank you. Ren, what are you working on the interoperability topic? What is your views?
I can tell you where Nervos is working on. We're working on cross-chain solutions with several influential blockchains, including Cardano and Ethereum. The main challenge in interoperability, honestly, is to deal with the limitations of other blockchains. Some limitations are directly attributed to the account model. Take Ethereum as an example. Thanks to our smart contract virtual machine, it's easy to verify an Ethereum transaction on Nervos CKB, our blockchain. But it is not practical to verify a Nervos transaction in the Ethereum blockchain in a trustless manner. As Manuel just mentioned, a similar problem. Because that would require implementing our mining puzzle on Ethereum, which is a new hash function. Executing a new cryptographic primitive is terribly expensive in Ethereum due to its low performance, which is kind of inherent with the account model, which forces us to think of an alternative solution. That's it.
Very interesting, thank you. James?
Yeah, so I think the obviously interoperability is a huge benefit for like extended UTXOs in particular, to be able to find multiple conditions under which a piece of value, a piece of stake can be consumed, is really exciting. Furthermore, to like be able to do that in a way where you might not have to reveal the entire script, I think is a really exciting way I mean, in a really easy way, in natural way, in a UTXO based blockchains, for them to interoperate. I can't say that we've done a lot of work trying to integrate with account-based systems yet, but you know, what we have tried to work on in terms of multi-chain compatibility we've developed a token ontology, which is our Topple's view of like how different assets should be managed and the capabilities of different types of assets, and using that as a guide for our customers to show them like this is what it means. These are the sorts of properties and methods you get from having these assets, and then being able to generalize that to have multi-chain support, and then thinking how do you actually match those on multiple chains? How do you use this one definition of an asset and manage it the same? And so to that end, we've integrated the Oracle's Graal VM polyglot interpreter, which is not as rigorous as the KVM or Yella, which is just an amazing feat of work. But what it does let us do is we can run Solidity code on our blockchain, and that's not the greatest thing, but it does provide us a path to be able to define a more constrained language, and try to map what Solidity would provide on the Ethereum side to what we can provide on the on Topple protocols side.
Thank you, James. Alex, what do you think about interoperability?
Interoperability is the hottest topic these days because, the liquidity must be shared. So this is definitely the future of the public blockchains. And here, UTXO model is much better. Protocols are just simpler, and it also means they are more secure. And that's already a huge bonus when we have a lot of hacks around. For example, recently we had quite huge hacks in regards with cross-chain protocols as well. I think joint research is needed, and in Ergo we are also have plans for cross-chain solutions, mainly for Cardano in the first place, but then with other public blockchains as well.
Okay, the second work streams we will work on is programmability, so the ability to program the blockchain and create smart contracts and dApps. Manuel, that is actually your core business. What are you working on, and how does it work on the UTXO model?
So for Bluetooth, the smart contract system of Cardano, we chose to use Haskell, the most widely used functional programming language, as the basis for this system. And it was a very conscious decision to use an existing language, because introducing a new programming language, although maybe an interesting technical challenge for people like me who are interested in programming languages, is economically actually an extremely expensive task. You have to educate the community, you have to provide all the tooling, libraries, teaching material. So it's just nicer for developers to use infrastructure which already exists and has a community. And we chose functional programming because it has, over the last, say, 10 years, become the paradigm of choice in applications where safety and security is important. And if you look at the adoption, for example, of functional programming throughout a wide range of investment banks, for example, for modeling of securities, these are tasks where you have to move rapidly, but you still need to get the right results, and you require scalability. And the model also fits very well with the extended UTXO model, because that in nature requires state to be localized, which is one of the core principles of functional programming.
Thank you. Ren, from Nervous, what are you working on for programmability?
Okay. Currently, you can program Nervous smart contract with C, JavaScript, Rust, and Solidity. We're working on a provably secure new programming language, but that project is still in an early stage. The high-level program is compiled to RISC-V virtual machine code. We choose RISC-V, a hardware instruction set, because it's both simple and powerful. It's simple because it's designed for hardware. It's powerful because we already have compilers of these programming languages, the RISC-V instructions, so it naturally supports these languages. However, implementing RISC-V into a blockchain virtual machine, which is another high-level software, and optimizing it requires tons of work. To compare the performance of our virtual machine with EVM, we have a tool called Polyjuice that can compile a Solidity smart contract to a CKP smart contract. The same contract executes at least 1,000 times faster than its counterpart in EVM. Thanks.
James, do you have programmability functionality in your blockchain?
So we've explored it as a proof of concept primarily. We obviously, I'd love to have someone who with such like specialized domain knowledge as a programming language, but we haven't found the person with the right that really fits that and is interested in that technology. But what we have been able to do so far is develop what we call our chain program engine, which is basically just an abstraction, is a registration layer on top of the UTXO model that allows this like shared state execution environment. And so, but in having that and like getting that as a proof of concept to work, that was why we moved over to to use the polyglot with GraalVM. And so far we've been able to demonstrate running JavaScript, like programmable JavaScript contexts through GraalVM. And we're currently working to explore if DAML would be something that we can integrate onto our be compatible with on the chain, because that would give us access to a large number of like enterprise applications. So that's something we're really excited about, but is in the early stages. But I also, if I am able to find the right domain knowledge, using things like ErgoScript or Simplicity seems like a really easy way, like path to go down in terms of using this truffle polyglot API to make a dynamic execution environment, or I'm sorry, script environment.
Thank you. So I would like now to ask a question about how are you seeing collaboration on this particular smart contract programming language aspect, and what can be the main challenges we can address together. Manuel, if you want to start.
Yeah, programmability cross-chain, I think, is a very interesting topic which hasn't been explored very much in the community. But I think there are exciting projects which show the way of how we could move forward in this space. And what I'm referring to is especially domain-specific languages. So if we look at Cardano, we've got Marlow, which is an embedded language in Haskell to implement financial contracts. But we have demonstrated, the Marlow team has demonstrated that we can embed this language in JavaScript as well. And the model, the contract model of Marlow, it can be compiled to other blockchains. And also the Glow language and related projects where we have programming languages describing contracts, but in a chain agnostic way, they could in principle be compiled to a variety of different blockchains. And in this way, we could get a high level smart contract ecosystem which spans multiple chains. I think that's a promising direction.
Ren, what do you think?
I think that is very cool. That is really cool. I'm looking forward to see the results. To introduce our biggest challenge at the moment, I need to take a small step back. The thing that makes Ethereum more powerful than Bitcoin's smart contract is that it supports the storage and modification of states. But that is not a limitation of the UTXO model. So you can easily extend the UTXO model to enable it to store and modify states. However, one interesting limitation of the UTXO model is that when there are specific application that requires multiple simultaneous transactions to modify the same state, It is difficult for both UTXO and account model. This is usually solved by designing a roll-up mechanism that combines multiple transactions into one. When designing a roll-up mechanism, one fundamental difference between the UTXO model and the account model is that in the UTXO model, a transaction tells you the execution results. In the account model, a transaction tells you the execution process. However, logically speaking, it is simpler to combine multiple processes by executing them sequentially, namely in the account model, than to combine multiple execution results. So we have already constructed efficient solutions with several given contexts, with several given scenarios. How do you combine the results? But we still haven't seen a general solution that is applicable to arbitrary UTXO model and arbitrary applications in how do you combine the execution results of some simultaneous transactions.
Very interesting. James, do you have any thoughts on this collaboration around programmability?
Yeah. So I'm really excited to hear Manuel say that about the like a generic multi-chain programming language, because to be honest, like I said, my training's in physics, so I don't. Sometimes I feel like I'm asking questions to the void. I don't know the right person to ask questions to. So I'm very happy to hear that it's actually a possibility to do, and it's feasible to some extent. And I'm super excited that Cardano is going down that path. And so the things I think are really interesting that we could explore with UTXOs, obviously the standardization of like scripts and how funds or assets can move between chains without being restricted to maintain like the same security model or anything. It's just you have to have this functionality and this way of addressing or consuming state. And but I'm kind of interested in what design patterns might come out of having more of a UTXO mindset or like this consumable state mindset. Obviously, like Ren said, it's a bit of a stumbling block to have, you know, blockchains with 15-second block times, if that were the case, and only able to update a single, you know, like multi-user contract, the state of a single multi-user contract at once. And so moving to design patterns where that's, or like finding places where it is applicable to do that. So obviously moving funds between chains is a really good example where I don't think you have multi-users. You're able to do these single point-to-point transactions. But things like decentralized oracles or I'm really interested in exploiting the barrenness nature of UTXOs, right? Like JWTs are just a really easy way to do stateless authentication through Web 2.0. And what can we do with like access tokens that have more complex logic attached directly to the token? So you don't have to worry about the actual admission of it and constraining that. You actually get to at the execution time enforce the constraints that you want to be on that. So yeah, I'm very excited to kind of discuss those interactions and how maybe even like if you can interact with a mutable state layer or a shared state layer like an Ethereum account style thing. What can you do where you have extended UTXOs mapped to single like read-only values in this mutable state? That way you can do things like chains ownership of some hierarchy of tokens. And yeah, so those are the sorts of things that I'm specifically interested in and hope we get a chance to discuss at some point.
We will definitely appreciate your enthusiasm. The third and last workstream we thought about is scalability. So how to grow in terms of transaction throughput and etc. What are the main challenges and what are we working on, Manuel, on this?
Yeah, with respect to scalability, I think it's important to realize that, of course, this programming model, the extended UTXO model, where we have local state, requires a different sort of programming style than a global account-based model. It's a little bit as between imperative and functional programming. And if you take a naive imperative algorithm and you try to implement it in a functional language, you may end up with something very slow because, well, you have to use a different algorithm. Maybe instead of a list, you have to use a tree. We've been exploring this already, and for example, if you look at our paper, which appeared in Financial Cryptography, where we are describing the Hydra head protocol, we are demonstrating the use of a state machine which uses parallel transitions. We use custom tokens, they're very lightweight in Cardano, custom native tokens to allow parallel multi-step transitions, and in this way speed up the process of the reciting state machines by a factor of n, where n is the number of participants in the head. And we can use similar techniques where we exploit the fact that we have local state, but we have a lot more parallelism in the UTXOs. So to me, the point is that yes, account-based model naively at first sight gives us immediately higher throughput, but it limits more advanced scalability solutions, whereas the UTXO model, although it appears to have less throughput per contract, initially allows these sophisticated methods to speed things up. And the Hydra protocol itself is an example of that. In Hydra is a layer 2 protocol, where in the off-chain protocol we use the full parallelism of the UTXO graph to get really high throughput. And so I think UTXO model is actually great for these scalability solutions.
Very interesting. Ryan, what are you working on scalability on Nervos?
Actually, we don't have a technical problem to solve in scalability. So in terms of scalability, we believe UTXO is naturally more friendly to parallel processing. So it's naturally more scalable than at the account model. However, the main difficulty in our scalability solution is that we don't have adequate number of developers to implement our solutions. We don't even have adequate number of researchers to summarize these solutions into academic papers. So we have already designed our rollup solutions and our payment channel network solutions, but we just don't. We're just implementing them in a very slow pace because we have very few developers in that aspect.
Great opportunity for collaboration, I guess. James, scalability in your vertical.
Yeah, so obviously I think I agree with everything that's already been said. The UTXO model is just a naturally parallelizable model, and as long as you can assume all the transactions are independent of one another, it's really great in that. What really I would say Topple's primary excuse me. Topple's primary work in this regime has been in utilizing something that's not really common, I found, in other blockchain systems, and that's this. In ScoreX, we inherited this idea of boxes. So instead of UTXOs as in Bitcoin, and so with inputs, you're actually referencing previous transactions in an array. We have a layer between the transactions, and those boxes are how we do this chain program engine, and are trying to. As much as I agree that I think the functional style and UTXO are the way to go, and it's definitely why I subscribe to that in like the building of my blockchain, because deterministic finite state machines should be built using functional programming. The paradigm and the ability to get people to realize that blockchains are just useful at all, I think, is much easier for people to realize in the more imperative, not as secure model of shared state, a la the account style EVM. And so that's why I think this chain program engine is going to be something that we need in order to more rapidly iterate and provide value for our customers and to exist as a company, while I can still then spend time doing extended UTXOs correctly, and getting to explore and help to develop all the standards for how UTXO-based blockchains interoperate.
Great, thank you all for your time today. So it's time to wrap up this call. What I would like to say about the UTXO Alliance is that today we launched a website, utxo-alliance.org, and that anyone who is interested to contribute to any of those work streams can join the Alliance and join the working groups. There will be periodical sessions organized in each working group, and I will ask some of us to take the leadership of one working group to bootstrap the initiative and organize a bit the work across projects and federate the initiative on the different work streams we detailed today. So welcome to join, and I'm very happy that we are founding the UTXO Alliance today. Thank you all.